Welcome back to the Deep Read Podcasts. I'm Sarah, the Critical Analyst.
And I'm Marcus, the systems expert. And today, Sarah, we're diving into a book that redefined self-help for the decade. James Clear's Atomic Habits. It's a masterclass in marginal gains.
Marginal gains, indeed. Marcus. Clear's central promise that tiny changes lead to remarkable results resonated massively. But as we dissect this operating manual, I want to pinpoint the fundamental tension at its core. Is Atomic Habits truly about systems, or is it a cleverly disguised argument for radical identity overhaul?
I see where you're going. The book explicitly states the crucial pivot. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. The focus is the process. Clear positions this early, suggesting that focusing on the system, the commitment to endless refinement, is what determines progress, unlike fleeting goal setting.
Yet, almost immediately after establishing that system, Clear redirects us to the deepest layer of change: identity. That's the real engine, isn't it? Without believing who you are becoming, a runner, a writer, a leader, the system is just a set of repetitive motions. That contradiction, process versus belief, is where the deep read begins.
The brilliance of Clear's system is its integrated, actionable framework. He simplifies the habit loop, cue, craving, response, reward, into the 4 laws of behavior change. I'll state them clearly, as they are the levers for effortless habit building. First, the first law is make it obvious. This tackles the cue, ensuring you notice the opportunity. Second, the second law is make it attractive, leveraging the craving by associating the action with positive feelings. Third, the third law is make it easy. This governs the response by reducing the friction associated with the behavior. And finally, the fourth law is make it satisfying, closing the feedback loop with an immediate reward to ensure repetition.
Respectfully, Marcus, these laws are a brilliant piece of synthesis. But structurally, how new are they? Clear acknowledges that his 4-step model evolves from B.F. Skinner's stimulus, response, reward. Operant conditioning from the 1930s. The novelty is less in the science and more in the incredibly effective packaging. The critique here is that Clear takes sophisticated, established psychology and gives it a highly accessible, almost marketing-friendly language.
Let's look at 3 of his most detailed, compelling examples, which, when deconstructed, reveal just how deeply anchored they are in classic behavioral conditioning. First, consider the Vietnam War heroin example. Clear uses this to illustrate the inversion of the first law: make it invisible. Soldiers addicted in Vietnam eliminated their habit nearly overnight upon returning home. This wasn't willpower. It was a radical environmental change that removed the cues that triggered the behavior: the friends, the stress, the easy access. That deeply anchors Law 1 in external stimulus control, demonstrating that environmental inputs often matter more than internal motivation. But that's precisely the utility. He's providing an operating manual for controlling that external stimuli.
My second example, Law 2, make it attractive. Clear's strategy here is temptation bundling. Ronan Byrne, the engineering student, hacked his stationary bike so Netflix would only run if he was cycling at a certain speed. That is textbook Premax principle. Linking an action you want to do, watching Netflix, with an action you need to do, exercising. The craving for the attractive habit boosts the motivation for the necessary one. It's an excellent technique, but is it a new law or a creative application of established conditioning designed to trigger a dopamine spike in anticipation of the reward?
It's the integrated model that is new, Sarah. Clear asserts his framework is one of the first models to accurately account for both the influence of external stimuli and internal emotions on habits. The structure makes the ideas instantly actionable.
Fine. Let's look at the culmination. Law 4, make it satisfying. This is where Clear uses the famous example of British cycling and Dave Brailsford's aggregation of marginal gains. Brailsford's team obsessively searched for tiny 1% improvements in everything, from redesigning seats to painting the inside of the team truck white to spot dust. The ultimate reward wasn't the gold medal itself, but the constant compounding satisfaction of small, ongoing progress. The tiny change itself is the source of immense energy or power. When hundreds of small improvements accumulated, the results were astounding, including 178 World Championships and 5 Tour de France victories. This example shows that what is immediately rewarded is repeated. This is an incredibly detailed demonstration of the fourth law, proving that tiny acts of progress sustain the entire system. But again, the underlying psychological driver, reinforcement and progress visualization, is foundational, merely applied here with rigorous discipline.
I maintain that this systematic packaging is the crucial value. He took the best ideas smart people figured out a long time ago and synthesized them into a step-by-step plan, a guide for aligning external cues with internal desire. Let's move back to the fundamental argument you raised: identity. Clear argues that the most effective way to change is not focusing on what you want, the outcome, but who you wish to become. Behavior change is identity change. The practical application of this is incredibly elegant. Clear states, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. You accumulate evidence of your desired identity through consistent action. You become a writer by writing a page, or an athlete by starting a workout.
That voting analogy is inspiring, Marcus. It gives immediate meaning to small, repetitive actions. However, here's where the system breaks down. Delayed outcomes. Clear is excellent at warning us about the plateau of latent potential. This is the phase in the early and middle stages of any quest where you expect linear progress, but results are frustratingly ineffective. If my identity votes, my effort, fail to yield visible results for months or even years, I hit the valley of disappointment. At that point, the psychological cost, the frustration, the lack of immediate satisfaction may trigger burnout. Why should I keep voting for an identity that yields zero results? The cost of hard habits is in the present, while the rewards are in the delayed future. That identity is fragile if it relies purely on hope.
The entire philosophy of atomic habits is designed to prevent quitting before you cross that plateau, Sarah. The bridge between fragile hope and sustainable identity is the third law. Make it easy. Specifically, we use the 2-minute rule, which states, when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do.
But that feels like a hack, not a commitment. The goal is running a marathon, not tying your shoes.
It's a hack that guarantees the essential element, showing up. The goal is not the 2 minutes. The goal is mastering the habit of showing up. The 2-minute commitment minimizes the required energy, the law of least effort. If you only commit to taking out your yoga mat or opening your notes or tying your running shoes, you avoid the mental burden of the hard task. And once you've done the first step, it's easier to continue what you are already doing than to start something different. By focusing on the smallest possible starting action, you are ensuring the consistency needed to keep casting those identity votes, even on bad days, which prevents the spiral of repeated mistakes.
So the 2-minute rule is simply a psychological commitment device that makes the start of the process mindless, allowing momentum to take over, regardless of motivation?
Precisely. By mastering the decisive moment, you ritualize the beginning of the process. The purpose is to keep the tiny wins accumulating evidence for your new identity until the visible breakthrough occurs. You must standardize before you optimize.
Let's address the final, critical tension inherent in any productivity system based on repetition. Habits are essential because they make actions automatic, freeing up our conscious mind. But this automation creates a dangerous trade-off between consistency and consciousness. Clear identifies this as the major downside of creating good habits. The upside of habits is that we can do things without thinking. The downside of habits is that you get used to doing things a certain way and stop paying attention to little errors. You stop improving and merely reinforce your current, possibly flawed methods. How do we balance the need for automatic consistency with the need for conscious effort toward mastery?
The antidote to complacency is the commitment to reflection and review. Mastery requires not just automatic habits, but combining those habits with deliberate practice. When you reach peak performance, you need a system to ensure your habits improve rather than decline. A perfect illustration of this fix is the Pat Riley Career Best Effort, CBE program for the Los Angeles Lakers in the 1980s. Riley didn't discard the habits the team already had. Instead, he forced consciousness back into the process by setting a new system of measurement.
How did CBE achieve that necessary disruption of the automatic?
Riley took a player's baseline statistics, his number, and asked the player to improve their output by at least 1% over the course of the season. This improvement wasn't solely about scoring. It included unsung hero deeds, like diving for loose balls or helping a teammate. By continually comparing a player's current performance against his past self and against the league, Riley created a non-negotiable feedback loop. The system ensured they were doing things right, then doing them the same way every time. The CBE program, which led to back-to-back championships, proves that periodic structured review prevents the gradual slide of automated decline and forces the professional athlete, or anyone seeking mastery, to remain conscious of their performance. We began with systems versus identity. We end realizing they are a feedback loop. Systems provide the framework. Identity provides the purpose. The four laws, obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying, are the engine that pushes good habits to the left side of the spectrum, making them effortless and compounding. As Clear demonstrated with British cycling, the Holy Grail is not one big win, but 1,000 atomic habits stacking up. Ultimately, success is not a goal to cross. It is a system to improve, an endless process to refine.
And refinement is key. The true secret to lasting results is never to stop making improvements, even if that means breaking up with a belief that no longer serves you. We become our habits.
To our listeners, here is the question that should drive your next small action. Are you currently living and working with integrity? And how can you set a higher standard today to prove you are becoming the type of person you truly wish to be?
Thank you for listening to this discussion on the System Read podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button and subscribe to ensure you don't miss our upcoming deep dives.